Hi there, welcome to Focus 15 Spanish with the Spanish Grammar Guy. That's me, the place where you can get help on all aspects of your Spanish grammar. So today, let's get started and let's have a look at the future tense in Spanish. Now, there are several ways to express the future in Spanish, and one of them is a future tense, although in everyday speech, it is becoming less and less common to use. So let's have a look at how Spanish speakers express the future in everyday language. Then we can look at how the actual future tense is used. So first, we could look at using the verb ir plus an action, for example, in the present tense. Let's take a look at this example. Esta noche vamos al cine. Tonight we're going to the cinema. So this use of the future is more for a planned, scheduled event. We could even use the verb ir twice in the same sentence. For example, esta noche vamos a ir al cine. Tonight we're going to go to the cinema. This might be called the intentional future. Often this is used instead of the future tense proper, and we'll look at that now. So you could say, esta noche iremos al cine. Tonight we'll go to the cinema. This is not usually used to talk about something planned, so it can sound uncertain or even like a command or a promise. So let's have a look at the future tense proper and how it's formed, and then how to use it properly. So the formation of the future tense is the same for all verbs. For regular verbs, you take the infinitive of the verb, the whole verb, and add the following endings. So let's have a look at the verb llegar, and we'd add e, as, a, hemos, eis, an. So it becomes llegaré, llegarás, llegará, llegaremos, llegaréis, llegarán. Don't forget the accents are there for you to stress on your pronunciation the last syllable, llegaré, llegarás. Okay? So some verbs have an irregular stem, but the endings are always the same in the future tense. Let's have a look at a couple of those verbs, for example. You'd have, for example, haber becomes habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, etc. Decir becomes diré, dirás, dirá. Hacer becomes haré. Poder becomes podré. Poner becomes pondré. Querer becomes querré with a double R. And venir becomes vendré. These are just some examples of changes in the spelling of the stem, but the endings for the future tense are always the same for all verbs. Okay, so how is the actual future tense used? Because often, as we've said, the present tense is used to refer to the future. But what if we want to make a less certain statement or a forecast about the future? Then this is when the future tense is used. Let's take a look at an example here. Si llueve, se aplazará el partido. If it rains, the match will be postponed. So that's a statement or a forecast about the future. Let's have a look at this example here. Nos veremos mañana en el colegio, ¿verdad? We'll see each other at school tomorrow, won't we? Now that use of the future tense there provides a statement that's less certain than if we just used the present tense. Because if we just say nos vemos mañana, then that's more of a certain statement. So the use of the future tense here makes it less certain. Also, the future tense is used for predictions or promises, especially long-term ones. Here's an example. Ten confianza en mí. No te decepcionaré. Trust me, I won't disappoint you. And a famous phrase that you might recognize from the Spanish Civil War, no pasarán. They shall not pass. So another way to use the future tense can be just like in English for commands. For example, no saldrás de esta casa hasta la mañana. You will not leave this house until tomorrow. The future tense can also be used to express probability or supposition, guesses, approximations, and this is where your use of the future tense becomes quite subtle and quite advanced in the use of Spanish language. For example, if you were to say, serán las 10:30, that would translate to something like, it must be around 10:30. Or if you'd say something like, tendrá tu edad, you're saying something like, she or he must be around your age. It's a probability, or it's a supposition, a guess, or an approximation. So how would you say something like, I wonder what the time is? Here you can use the future tense to give that guess or idea of approximation. ¿Qué hora será? Okay? So the future tense does have its differences from English usage, and it is often not used at all in everyday speech in Spanish. Let's try a few translations. Remember, you can pause the video to think before the answer comes up. Let's try a few translations here for the future tense. Okay. This first one, they should be at home at this time. So here you're making a guess, an approximation, a supposition that someone is usually home at this time. Okay, pause the video if you need to think about the translation. And here is the answer in the future tense for that. A esta hora estarán en casa. Okay? What about this one? I promise I will tell him. Okay, try and translate that. Pause if you have to. Okay, here's the answer. Te prometo que se lo diré. Okay, that's it for now. I hope that has helped you with the future tense and how it's used in some more subtle forms in Spanish. Take a look at more examples of Spanish grammar on the Focus 15 Spanish with the Spanish Grammar Guy on YouTube. See you again soon. Hasta luego.